Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talking with the DM. Hi, I'm the DM. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're doing fine. I know this everything's a little crazy right now in the world. Depending where you're at, things are crazier than other places. But like I said, I hope you're doing well. And just remember, even especially nowadays, if you feel like nobody feels the way you're feeling, or maybe you feel isolated, or let's just face it, you just feel shitty. Um, Trust me, you're not the only one. I feel that way. There's other people who feel that way as well. You're not alone. And hopefully, um, being part of this community and being part of other communities you might belong to, reach out to somebody, especially nowadays. Um, I would give that advice during the holidays, regardless. But with everything else on top of that, I would probably say let's all be a little more mindful and think about each other. All right. Let's see. I'm just gonna. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just trying to dial it down a little. Isn't that working? Okay. Uh, Things you should have did before the stream started for 100, Alex. So, give me 1 second. Yeah, whatever. No! See, yeah. Just when you think things can't be any worse, I go and I do stuff like that. Anyway, this hat is like washing me out big time. It's silvery. I don't know if you can see it with all the light that's going on here. It's silver. It's really pretty. I love it. But welcome anyway to Talking with the DM. Today, what I'd like to do is I would like to talk a little bit about the D&D core books. Now, what do I mean by core books? So, you need when you start playing D&D, whether you're a player or whether you are a dungeon master, you need to have a certain amount of books to have with you more for reference. Now, the biggest problem that I've seen, and this is, from my perspective as both player and dungeon master, but mostly player, when I first started, I remember looking at the books and going, "Damn, those are a lot of books, and some of those books have a lot of pages." And people tend to look at all of that and look at all the rules, and they get intimidated by all of that. And for some people, that actually puts them off from playing. Hold on a second. I'm really not liking the way I look here. So I'm gonna see if I could do something about it. Just give me 1 segundo. I see if I could. It's a little better. I'm getting there. The wonderful behind the scenes of streaming. It's a little better. It's a little better. All right, that's a little better. I'm not as washed out. Uh, you can actually see where my forehead begins and the hat starts. Okay, all right, there we go. Now, enough of that. So back to the D&D books. So with the D&D books, as I was saying, sometimes people look at all of the rules. They look at, um, hey Southern, just a cigar. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Um, yeah, it's just a cigar. I have my youngest daughter. She for I think it was sometime last year, she got me for Father's Day um, a humidor filled with cigars, and so that I'm slowly but surely making my way through them. I'm not like like a everyday or every other day type of cigar smoker, um, but I do enjoy cigar occasionally, and so I just keep the humidor going. Oh, it was a random, like they were all like random cigars. I don't remember. I pull, like I literally just pull the tags off and I just throw them away. Yeah, Commit got that for me. Yeah, it was for Father's Day. Um, so so yeah, I'm just making my way through them, little by little. I make them last. Cigars can last for years, as long as you take care of them. Otherwise, they're no good. So commit, whatever. I speak the English. Yeah. No, I have a few favorite cigars, but in this pack in the package that she got me, they were all it was like one of those bulk deals where they were just kind of random cigars. Um, so, and they were pretty good. I like a nice mild cigar with a little bit of just a hint of bite, a little bit of peppery taste, but nothing too strong. My favorites, I'm not gonna lie, I should have called this cigar talk in the beginning. My favorites though are, I'm not what you would call like an old school cigar smoker. I will smoke what I like, and my favorites are there's like the Java chocolate and the coffee mint. I don't know if you've ever had those, Southern. Really, really good, really good. Like the flavoring on those is not overpowering. And it's like almost like a dessert if you smoke one after dinner. It's really, really it's nice. It's nice. It's very nice. But yeah, those are that's the kind of cigar smoker I am. Is like if I like it, um, then I'ma smoke it. But there, yeah, you have some of those gatekeeper cigar smokers who are just like, oh no, the flavored cigars, blah 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 blah. No, they're good. I like them, so I'm gonna smoke it if I can. Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's the secret of the cigar I'm smoking. I don't know. It's a cigar I like. Um, but anyway, so yeah, nice segue. Uh, Parting from the D&D talk a little bit. I like that. I like that. But yeah, so back to, as I was saying, the core books of D&D. Essentially, like I said, some people will look at all of the rules. They will look at how big the books are, and sometimes that intimidates them, and they make the decision to not play the game just by looking at the books. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk a little bit about the core books, and then thank you for following, Dave M64. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Um, so we're gonna talk a little bit about the books, and then after going through the core books, I want to talk a little. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the extras, like because there are a lot of books. And one that recently just came out, which I will definitely get into, is Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. But in the meantime, we are going to go through the core books. Now, I say core books. What does that mean? Core is the books, the essential books that you should have either as a player or a dungeon master at the very least. And I will say this, if you are looking for a game and or somebody asks you if you want to play the game and you do not own the books, chances are, if they're asking you already to play, or there's a group of people that you already know, somebody can lend you the book, or while you're at the or they can help you with the rules. Like, I'm over here talking I'm talking like pre-COVID. I'm talking like pre-quarantining and all of this stuff. That was like the basic thing. You could, when you all got together, somebody usually had a player's handbook, which is one of the core books. And it would go get passed around the table. A lot harder to do nowadays. If you are in a group that uses a service like D&D Beyond, chances are the DM has that book already and can share that information with you online, and then you don't even have to buy the book. Your DM is allowing you to use that information, which is preferable. But there are a number of different places that you can pick up the book. You can pick it up, obviously, online in various different places. I always try to encourage people to try and buy from their local gaming stores. Gaming stores are one of the few last bastions of nerddom, and with everything that's going on, especially here in the States, with businesses struggling, we definitely want to support local gaming stores as much as we can. So, quick Google check, to a place that's close to you, can turn up probably some stores that you might not even be aware of, and just find out if they have, what kind of gaming do they have. Usually most gaming stores will have, at the very least, the core books, if not all of the expanded, D&D books. So it's really a good idea to do that. So moving forward, the core, we'll start, I just mentioned the first one, we'll start with the Player's Handbook. So, the Player's Handbook, yes. Really good book to have for any starting player, and I will keep stressing this, and I will probably say this a number of times today, is do not be intimidated by how much rules are in here, okay? This is what I love about 5th edition. It's one of the things I love the most about 5th edition. These are guidelines, right? People are like, oh no, these are the rules. Nope, these are guidelines, okay? There are lots of people who take what's in these books, even the player's handbooks and the core books themselves, and they will homebrew their own things in the game, okay? So, and then a DM might actually, based on what they're running, may actually limit how much information you are using in this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Southern. Yeah, you definitely want to buy from your local gaming stores, over Amazon. I mean, I think Amazon's got enough money, but if you can't help it, try to do it from your local gaming stores. You definitely want to support them. You definitely want to support them, especially now. But yeah, it's the 5th edition books are guidelines, right? They're there for you to reference even while you are playing the game. Hey Red, how you doing? Let's see, only physical books you own have gotten. Yep. But the legendary source from the bundle on D&D Beyond, because digital is so much easier. Yeah, it's really about preference, right? How you get the books, what you do, where you're getting them from. It's preference. It's going to be, ease for yourself. It's also going to be monetary wise. How are you going to be able to pick up these things? When you can, and if at all possible, always support your local gaming store. And if you can't, don't feel bad about it, But that should be, that you should try to do that always at first. Is, again, that's just my opinion. Um, but yeah, if digital is easier, especially now, like digital is right now probably your best bet, with D&D Beyond and services like like that. D&D Beyond is official. Other services like Roll20, also you're able to pick up some stuff from Roll20, which is also official. There's a couple of different places you can do it digitally. Um, but I will say, like, I personally love like the actual books, like being able to actually go into the books and read them. I also have a general sense of where everything is in the book, by page number, so I can turn to it quickly. Um, Not gonna lie, the digital versions that I use on D&D Beyond, kind of awesome with the search function. It is very helpful. um, but where you can, for the physical books. But yeah, with the player's handbook, that is basically, I try to tell people that that's kind of your go-to, to help you with your character, whatever character you're creating. Um, and again, a DM is going to tell you before the game even starts what limitations, if any, are happening, what you're going to be using in the book, what you're not going to be using in the book, that kind of thing. Um, let's see. Yeah, exactly, Red. Yeah. Again, if we were all sitting around a table, physical books is probably the way to go, because there's always going to be that one person or maybe two that have the books, and they're gonna be super helpful, pass it around the table, let people borrow it where they need to. Nowadays, not so much, right? So online is probably the best way to go, or get that physical book if you can, for your help, to help you while you're doing it. Um, yeah, I don't have a memory like that, Southern. I can't memorize. I can't memorize the page numbers, but like just having the book in my hand, like I have, like, it's almost like when you're if you have to go somewhere, if you have to drive somewhere, and you know how to get there, but you don't know the street names, like that's how it is for me in the book. Like I know exact kind of where it is in the book by just looking at the book, but I don't remember the page numbers per se. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, it's really, this is your go-to, the player's handbook as a player, and a DM. The DM is going to need to refer to that sometimes as well, especially if you have new players who don't know certain rules or don't know certain things about, whether it's race or class or something like that. So, great book to have. I also love the artwork inside, that you don't always get through the digital copies. So that's a bonus for me. Artist at heart here. Really, really love that artwork in there. And it's just, and also as a storyteller, looking through all those things, it gives me inspiration. Sometimes I'll look through the books and I'll read again something about a race or class or location or something like that, and that'll inspire me for something I'm writing or a game that I'm running at that moment. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah, the artwork that they've put in the D&D books over the years have been simply amazing. Um, there is, I don't want to get this wrong because it's a really great documentary. I'm not gonna say they're a friend of mine. They are a friend of a friend's, a person that I know and I'm Facebook friends with. Um, they recently, last year and a half, maybe 2 years, um, they put a documentary together, um, about, specifically about the art of Dungeons and Dragons, and let's see. Oh no, that's the book. That's the book, The Art of D&D. There is, let me see if I can find it here, because I want to get this right. You know what? I'm just gonna check his Facebook because I'm sure it's on there. Uh, why? Oh no, that's wow. I am terrible at Facebooking. Uh, all right, here we go. There we go. Okay, so the documentary is called "Eye of the Beholder: The Art of Dungeons and Dragons." All right, it is a great documentary. They go through all of the art, and they interview some of the artists, and I'm talking like artists from when like first edition and second edition, like all the way back, like the history of it. It's a great documentary. Highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it, please do. Uh, and you just like some of the insight of how they actually picked the artwork, how they picked the artist, the things that the artist actually went through, and the artist's effect on the genre, right? Specifically, not just D&D, but fantasy books and things like that. Like how it just affected all of those things. Great documentary. Please see it. I will be putting a link to it in the Discord, as I always do when I talk about these things, so folks can find it there. Um, but yeah, again, Eye of the Beholder: The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. Uh, Highly recommend it. Highly recommend. So, but yeah, the artwork is beautiful. It's outstanding. Again, the book itself is great to have for many reasons. But you should absolutely just kind of sit down, look it through. Um, I always kind of it's for me. This is gonna sound strange, but going through all my D&D books is like watching The Big Lebowski. Uh, for those who've seen it, every time I sit down, I always find something new in the book and the movie. So absolutely, Player's Handbook, best one of the best things in there. And again, fifth edition, very specifically, uh, it really is about just a foundation and having that stuff there. Really good information in there. Let's go through it and just peruse a little bit what's in there for those who may not be 100% familiar. Um, while when I have these talks, I am talking with both experienced and beginner players. I like to go through the things just in case we have some people who are not super familiar with it. Mm. The disclaimers, that is one of the funniest things in the book because I read everything, and sometimes I miss those disclaimers. The disclaimers in the D&D books are hilarious. They kind of remind me of when I look at the disclaimers. They remind me a little bit about of the, and this is how old I am, Mad Magazine. Okay, Mad Magazine used to. For those who are not aware of Mad Magazine, it was this crazy parody magazine of all that artists put together, and they would parody pop culture and movies, and it would all be art. But every now and then, depending on what you did, on like you would have the borders, much like a comic book, right? But on the borders of all the frames, there would be these little comics, like these little things going on. People climbing the borders, just some kind of funny thing going on. It was like a story, a funny story within a funny story, and it was great. And those disclaimers remind me of that. They're so funny. They really, really are funny. And they have them in all the books. All the books have different disclaimers. It's great. Um, but yeah, let's take a quick look, um, and see what we got going on in the player's handbook, shall we? All right, let's open this up real quick. All right, and let's see. Here we go. All right. I'm not the best at this, so I'm gonna try my best not to make you all seasick while I do this. Uh, so yeah, let's take a look at the disclaimer real quick, which is, bear with me here. There we go. Yeah, the disclaimer's right here. Yeah, it's super small. I'm not gonna subject you to that, but that's the disclaimer. Tell you about the artwork, right here in the thing. Yeah, in this fiery scene, illustrated by Tyler Jacobson, the fire giant King Snur, suffering no fools to live, calls his hellhounds to join him in confronting unwelcome guests in his home. Yeah, anybody knows anything about fire giants? Unless you're a fire giant, you are an unwelcome guest in their home. Uh, but yeah, so we have, I mean, look, we have step-by-step characters right here, character races, classes, personality and backgrounds, which is something we're going to discuss when we get to Tasha's, because they've changed a lot of that with that book, which is really great. Equipment, customization options, and again, multi-classing feats, that kind of thing. Using ability scores is up here. Chapter, adventuring, combat, spellcasting, spells. This is really good if you're going to play a spellcaster. You have all your descriptions and lists. What conditions mean, the gods, all that good stuff. Yes. Yeah, to absolutely. Welcome to. Good to see you. The good D&D Bible. But yeah, this is good for a dungeon master. This is good for players. Again, some of that beautiful artwork we were talking about. It's just amazing. I mean, look at that. I mean, sometimes the artwork alone can inspire you, right? Just, you know, oh wow, that character looks cool. I'm gonna create. Oh, this Brenner Battlehammer. Love that shield. Love that shield. Yeah, one of the more amazing characters created in the Forgotten Realms novels. Brenner Battlehammer. Awesome picture there. Yeah, it's just, again, like, here we go. You know, we get to the the races. You know, dwarf. I'm gonna just jump ahead a little bit. I mean, look at this. I mean, you can't even see the person, but you already can kind of get inspired by the little gnome tinkering at his workshop. I mean, it's just that's some good shit right there, man. Right? You know, the little dragon in the corner, dragon skull, the owl. I mean, this is, again, beautiful stuff. And good information too. Like, here's some of the backgrounds. Like, this one is specifically talking about the hermit. And again, these are suggested characteristics. Most people will not use some of this stuff, and others will use it as inspiration to build their characters. Weapons, what they cost, what their damage is, all that good stuff. Right? A lot of good information in here. Expenses, right? Mounts, how much mounts cost. Mounts and other animals, all the stuff. I mean, like, the minutia, the detail that has gone into this book. Always amazing, right? It's always amazing. But you don't have to use all of it. You really don't. Feats, I love feats. I love me some feats. Crossbow expert, defensive. I mean, just really good. I mean, look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna fawn over all the artwork here. Oh man, and look at that. Look at that. That's amazing. All right, that's a little. Yeah, there we go. All right, good stuff. I mean, you get the point. Here's your spells. I mean, Player's Handbook pretty much has it all for you. You know, this is Player's Handbook does it all. That is, as Tu was saying, this is very much the D&D Bible. So DMs and players alike should have the Player's Handbook or have accessibility to it. at some point, because you're gonna need it. It's your foundation for both world building and your characters, whether you're DM or a player. Right? All right. So next core book. All right. So now we're jumping right into it. Next one. This one's for the DMs. The Dungeon Master's Guide. Right. This is the one that DMs. This is the DM's Bible. Okay. I am still learning so much from this book. As most people know, I've only been DMing for the last 2.5 years. Before that, just consistently a player. And right now, as I'm going through this, I still pick this up whenever I'm doing something. It's like, oh, I'm writing this piece. What can I add to it? Let me go through my Dungeons Master Guide, see if anything comes in, like just kind of inspires me, or a detail I might have missed, or not even a detail that I've missed, a detail that might make the encounter or riddle or whatever it is I'm writing richer, right? You definitely want to have the Dungeon Master's Guide. Has so much in it. Now, for players, I'm not going to say don't pick up a Dungeon Master Guide, because Dungeon Masters were players at one point. And if you have ever had the idea of running your own game, or maybe not just running a whole game, maybe running a small mod in the game, right? You probably want to pick this book up for some inspiration, to show that anybody can be a DM, right? So I will not say don't pick up the book. What I will say is don't pick up the book to screw with your DM, and figure out all the things your DM is trying to do in the game. That's the caveat, right? Because a lot of stuff in here can be considered metagaming depending on how you use it. So I will only say pick up the Dungeon Master's Guide for inspiration, for your character, but also for any games that you might want to run, or even start. These books are great for storytelling inspiration as well. And I don't mean just gaming. I mean, like, if you're a writer and you're looking to write something, these are great inspirations for that too. Yes, sidekicks and stuff. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that with Tasha's when I get to Tasha's. Yeah, you never know where inspiration will come from. Absolutely. So, Dungeons Master Guide. This is where you're like the base magic items and magic weapons and armor, all that stuff comes from. And we're gonna open up. We're gonna crack this bad boy open. Let me see. I want to jump right into the magic items because they are pretty cool and extensive. Let's see. Yeah. All right. But yeah, this is where for Dungeon Masters, this is how you figure out what magic items and at what point do they receive your players receive these things during the game, how rare they are, like all of this information. Again, so much detail. Like, the detail that goes into these books is incredible. And if you're experienced, I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But if you're somewhat new to the game, or you're looking for inspiration for something, I mean, these books are great. So let's take a look at the some of the magic items in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So let's see, I opened it up and we have right here is the Amulet of Health. Here is the Alchemy Jug. I love this thing. This is great. I laugh a lot because I always think, when I think of Alchemy Jug, I think of Critical Role, and Grog. Anybody who is a critter and watches the show first campaign, um, this is a funny thing that happens in the game. I won't spoil it, but it is pretty funny. I will say the fact that it makes mayonnaise is probably one of the most hilarious things outside of the situation that happened in Critical Role. Right? It's just it makes mayonnaise. Somebody sat down and said, "You know what? It's gonna make ale. It's gonna make water. It's gonna make all of these awesome things, and then mayonnaise." I don't know why, but it's still funny. It's just funny. Um, let's see, amulet of proof against detection, amulet of plant animated shield, apparatus of qualish. I mean, there's just amazing, and then the artwork for these things. I mean, again, like come on, like look at his armor. Look, bag of holding. And it's unpopular brother, the bag of devouring. Oh man, like some of these things are just like here are the different cloaks. Circlet of blasting, cloak of the manta ray, which is actually pretty cool. Let's see, we got some down here. That's pretty cool. The cubic gate. The deck of many things. I have not brought this into any of my games yet. I don't know if I ever will. This could be so good and so bad. Hey, Justin. Don't do it, huh? Sounds like a challenge to me. Yeah, no. Deck of many things. For the uninitiated. Yeah. All right, so here's the thing. I roll for all my magic items for my characters, for my players. Occasionally, depending on the situation, I may throw in one or two magic items that make sense for either the scenario or the players who are playing my game. But 85 to 90% of the time, all my magic items are random rolled. So, with that being said, there's always the possibility of the deck of many things showing up in one of my games. It just hasn't happened yet. And I'm not going to do it on purpose. Because that thing can break a fucking game. As you can see, some of the don't do it evil, Justin said, yeah, it can definitely fuck things up. Yeah, absolutely, Red. Absolutely nailed it on the head. Search for Grog. That whole extra side quest, that whole side game was because of the deck. Absolutely. Yeah, but there's so many things. I love the animals, the statue animals. They are awesome. The figurines of Wondrous Power. They can be great. As long as you don't have too many of them in the game. Summon things can be a little bit of a headache, especially if you have 7 players. But look at these. I mean, some of these, like the artwork alone. Sometimes looking at artwork just inspires you. If you're trying to create a character or you're trying to write a story, and you just see some of these things. I don't know about you, but for me, it just pops in the head. Animal stacking, the sign of the devil. I'll take your word for it. So helm of telepathy, helm of teleportation, Heward's handy haversack. Yeah, no worries, Southern. Just appreciate you being here. No worries. Yeah, Holy Avenger, Horn of Blasting. Southern was talking about the immovable rod. There it is right there. And again, some of these things are just like beautiful, powerful, and just like, again, inspiring depending on what you're trying to do. Right? So, talking about these books, especially the Dungeon Master Guide. Just if you're looking for inspiration, absolutely pick up the Dungeon Master's Guide. If you're looking to figure out whether you want to either DM a module or maybe co-DM, or possibly even write your own game or running your own game, then this is the book to get. You need it. Absolutely need it. And the thing is, again, let me tell you something. When I go to buy something for myself, anything for myself, one of the first questions I always ask myself is, how often am I going to use it? Is it worth the money for me to pick up? Right? Am I going to be using this? I use this all the time. Granted, I am consistently running games. But even if I was not running a game at the moment, I would still be using this book just to give me ideas, to inspire me, to just because, oh wow, I want to read this book and I haven't read this section in the longest time. Let me read all about. Let me just read about the Broom of Flying. That's kind of cool. Let me read about the Orb of Dragonkind. Ooh, that's pretty cool. Like, I would still be using this book over and over again, whether I was running a game or not. So, absolutely, Dungeon Master's Guide. Pick it up if you're looking to become a DM. If you're interested in becoming a DM, looking for inspiration on something, don't pick it up to screw with your current Dungeon Master. That's a dick move. Dick move. All right. Moving on. So the next one, I love this one. Next core book. And actually, if you think about it, it's the last core book. I mean, and again, the way I'm defining core book is you need these 3 books just to run games. You can run a game just with these 3 books. Last one, the Monster Manual. Love it. Now, some people will say, "Oh, it's only the Dungeon Master needs a Monster Manual." Not true. There are classes in the game where you're freaking gonna need this book. One of them being Druid. As a Druid, you are going to be either wild shaping into creatures or summoning creatures, and you are going to need one of these books to figure out what the hell you're going to be summoning. Okay? Now, how do you determine that? If again, I'm using the Druid as a perfect example. So Druids can only summon certain creatures with a certain challenge rating. Now, what does challenge rating mean? Glad you asked. Challenge rating tells you how great a threat the monster is. And you're only going to know what the challenge ratings are is if you have this damn book. So you're going to need this book to figure out challenge ratings. If you can wild shape into something, if you can summon it, those kind of things, this book is going to help you. Now, yes, there are other books that have more creatures in them, and those creatures additionally have challenge ratings as well, but they are not core books. They are add-ons to the core books, and we're going to talk about them. I'm not just going to we're a Monster Manual, done, everybody have a nice day. No, that's not what's happening. So I'm going through the core books, and then we're going to talk about the other books as well. But challenge ratings are going to be important for characters like a Druid. Or even if you are a wizard or you are a sorcerer and you are summoning creatures, again, some of these creatures and some of the spells have limitations on them depending on the challenge rating. So you should have this book. But this is mostly going to be for druids if you are. And pretty much the same damn thing I just said about a dungeon master, the dungeon master's guide, is what I'm going to say to you. Is pick up this book because it's awesome. No, pick up this book because it can be inspiring for you. The creatures in it. I mean, all right, I'm just going to switch over because I just love, like, the monster manual is like one of the most iconic creatures on it, and it's just amazing. Like, look at that. I mean, Beholder, like, this dude he is seriously examining his life choices at this moment, right? Like, he was like, I was not expecting a Beholder when I went dungeon diving this morning. Clearly, right? You know, this dwarf has no shits to give. Like, he is absolutely like, oh, Beholder, gonna kill that fucker. But this guy clearly is like, I've made a terrible mistake today. You know, and this, I mean, this is just the artwork again, beautiful, just beautiful. Just gonna open it up to random pages. Oh, of course, the dragon section. I'm kind of going backwards a little bit, but yeah, I mean, look at it. You really want to know, like, what the challenge rating of an adult brass dragon is? It's 13. Look how much experience points that sucker's worth if you were to actually fight him. Now, I don't know why you would, because normally they are chaotic good. But a DM could be, you know, a big dick, and make an evil brass dragon for reasons, and you fight them, and that's how tough they are, right? Again, you start to figure out challenge ratings and figuring out how tough things are as a dungeon master. But again, I look at the artwork. Oh my god, the Gith. Oh. Highly underused, big, the stars of Baldur's Gate, the new Baldur's Gate 5 that just came out, right? The Gith. I mean, look at the artwork on this. I mean, if that doesn't inspire you to come up with a character that is either, you know, like the Gith are their enemy, or maybe they're your friend, or just come up with some kind of storyline. I mean, it's just beautiful, just amazing. Gnolls, regular gnoll. Gnomes. All right, I always have problems. The Svirfneblin. Hey, I said it right this time. Wow. Okay, cool. My job's done. Stream's over. I said it right. I mean, just like, look, just some of the artwork in here. I'm sorry about the glare, everyone. Just amazing. Right? That's the Grick. Ah, the Helmed Horror. I had a bunch of these ready for my players in the last campaign. They never got to them. I think good. I think it was good. I think it was probably good that they didn't find them. Challenge ratings, well, not bad. Challenge rating 4. Right? Not bad. But look, they have magic resistance and spell immunity. So yeah, we had a wizard in the last campaign who loved fireball. He would have been screwed. Hookers, homunculus. Look at that. Look at that. It's kind of cute in an ugly type of way. All right. Oh, the Modrons. Yes. Yes. These cute little fuckers. Yeah, look at these guys. Look at these guys. I mean, I'm just turning through these pages right now, and I'm actually coming up with ideas, right? I mean, this is what it's really about. Oh man, look at this, the Spore Servants, the Myconids. I think they don't get used enough, to be honest, and they can be really, really creepy and really pain in the ass to fight. You know, based on some of their skills. Oni. Yeah, my players had issues with an Oni in the last campaign they were in. Right? And again, just like they go into there's a whole section here on orcs, right? Tribes, ranging scavengers, leadership and might, right? Orc war chief, right? I mean, come on, look at this. Pegasus. I mean, really, this is just beautiful stuff. Just beautiful stuff. Minotaur skeleton. Again, I mean, monster manual's where it's at. You're looking for inspiration. You're playing a druid or a character that summons creatures. You need your monster manual. Okay. Um, at the very least, just because it's a damn awesome book. Between the artwork and everything, oh, just beautiful, beautiful. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw this. I've missed it. I've had this book for a couple of years, and I just realized this. Hold on, I gotta show it to you. This is great. Look at that. I mean, it's stuff like somebody was like, you know what we need? A giant frog and a dude halfway in his mouth. Like somebody like the art director of this book said, we need to fill this space. What do you got? And like artists just I can't imagine what didn't get chosen for this section, like this part right here, right? It's got to be there had to be a couple of real winners that didn't get picked. But yeah, it's stuff again. It's things like that. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's inspiring. It will help you if you're a DM. Absolutely, go to help you run your game. Right? Figuring out what monsters to pick, along with the Dungeon Master's Guide. Your monster manual is going to help you scale your battles, help you figure out how many creatures you're going to need, what their challenge ratings are, all that good stuff. If you're a player, again, really good stuff that you're going to need for, whether it's your story, your background, things like that. Okay? So, 3 core books. Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual. All right. So with those 3 books, you can start your own game. If you're a dungeon master or a fledgling dungeon master, you can start your game just with those books. As a player, you really only need the Player's Handbook to get started. The other books, again, good for inspiration, good for entertainment value, good to help you maybe come up with some things for the backgrounds of your characters. Maybe you're an artist. Some of the artwork will inspire you for your own art. I mean, there's so many other reasons, but as a player, to get started, you only really need the Player's Handbook. Everything else will come in time. So now, with that said, those were the 3 core books. Now see, they're not so scary, right? Like, there's no reason to be intimidated by those books. Again, you're going to use them. You're not there to memorize every single thing in those books. There are people who can do that. I know someone personally who has a photographic memory and can tell you what page, what the rule is for all of these books. And it's crazy. But you don't need to do that, right? Because even if I'm playing a game with that person and they say, oh, but the rule is this, and this, if it's going to take away from the fun, or it's going to especially if it's going to make people upset or pissed off for no good reason, and it's not something that I'm trying to do for the game, these are more guidelines than rules. For some of you, you've probably seen that meme that people talk about. There is a D&D meme where it's Barbossa, the pirate from the movies, the Pirates of the Caribbean, basically saying they're more set guidelines than rules. That is completely what 5th edition books are. Yes, they're there to help you guide a story, the story that you are telling. If you're a DM, you are helping to guide your player's story. If you are a player, similarly, to help guide the whole story in general. If it takes away from the fun, if it's something that goes against what's the story is, as a DM, I may say, yeah, you know what, that's the rule, but that's not what we're going to do, because that would suck. Or, it's not going to be fun. Again, my job as a dungeon master, and most dungeon masters should be this way, is to challenge your players, not fuck them over. You're not there to screw them in the game. You're not there to kill them, or you're there to challenge them and play the game with them. Right? Those are the books that you need to get started as a dungeon master. Players really only need Player's Handbook. So let's start moving into the add-ons. Now, we do have some time, so we'll get into some of them, but I definitely want to get to the more recent ones, because they have some very important things in there that I'm very happy about, that I want to talk about. But I'm going to try and get through some. Now, I don't have all of the books. I do not have all of them. I do have most of them though. So we're gonna get into some of them. So the one I would advise, if you're going to pick up on an addition to these core books first, right? My recommendation would be, and you're playing in the realm of the Forgotten Realms, right? In Faerun. My recommendation would be the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, right? Now, why would my recommendation be this? Because it has background on the gods. It has more in-depth backgrounds on locations that you could use for your games. It has maps that you don't get in the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Player's Handbook of these various locations. So it is very helpful in building backstory. It is very helpful on especially for a dungeon master. But if you're a player and you're creating a character and you want to know where the hell your character could be coming from, this is a great book to have, right? It really does go into it even goes into history of certain places. It goes into some of the history of the races, so you get a little more understanding of where the races came from, or why they are the way they are, that kind of thing. And also has the different classes. Again, there's a little more detail that you're not getting out of the other books. There are some spells that can be added to your campaign if your DM is using the book. But absolutely, and there are backgrounds that you can use as your character as well, that can actually give you better proficiencies and make you better at certain things, that kind of thing. So absolutely, once you pick up the three core books, and you're looking to start expanding your library of D&D 5th edition books, absolutely, Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide is the way to go. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I do want to show you the artwork on the cover, because it is freaking amazing. Let's see. All right, here we go. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. That's, again, beautiful artwork. All of these people got up on the right side of the bed that morning to go dungeon diving. There is no regrets in any of these folks for what they're doing currently. But yeah, it's, again, artwork absolutely amazing in this book as well. A lot more in depth. So that's the next book. So Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, if that's what you're inclined to do. Now, the other books, which I will go through, there isn't really, after you get the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, the next kind of group of books you can get at any point. Like there's no like you don't need to get them in a certain order, right? If you're a player, the order I would, as a player, player's handbook first, right? Monster manual especially if you're playing a druid or a class that summons a lot of creatures, uh, and then Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, right? If you're Dungeon Master, those books as well, but the Dungeon Master's Guide as well. The others, you can pick and choose as you want, right? The one I got immediately after those was Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Now, what I love about this book specifically, and the other books subsequently, is the lore from earlier editions of the games that gets brought up to speed and up to date with all of these games, right? So Xanathar, for those who are unaware who Xanathar is a beholder who happens to be the leader of a faction of basically a rogues guild, and he is in love with his goldfish. I'm not even making that up. That is an absolute truth. Dude loves his goldfish. Like that's his pet. That's his. Anything happens to his goldfish, somebody gonna die. And he is insane. So there is that too. So the way this book is written, it's written as though Xanathar is basically giving the benefit of his experience of all of the things he's seen, adventurers and magic items and things that he's seen. That's how these books are written, which is great. And like for example, the book is actually, the book is written, the way the other rule books are, but there are little sections within the book that have like his annotations, right? Things that he said. And one of them, like the first one I just turned to, so ancestors are people who did the procreation thing to make more people before you were born. Like, how many people? It's a lot of that procreation thing. Ew, you're disgusting. Right? Like, this is the thoughts of Xanathar. And some of these things are great, right? Like, a lot of these things are great in here. They go into, let me just go kind of bring this up. All right, so you do have some classes that are expanded upon, basically. So right now that's monk. You have paladin. You have rogue. Here's the rogue right here. And again, these expand on what's already in the player's handbook. And depending on your game, your dungeon master may not be using this book, right? So when a game starts, your dungeon master should already be telling you, these are the rules that we will be using for our game. And if they say we're only using the core books, this book doesn't get used. None of these things happen, right? Now, granted, and this happens to me a lot in games that I've run in the past and currently, is I will say we're using these books, and someone will message me and say, hey, I really want to use a background, or I really want to be this subclass, right? But you said we're not using that book. Can I use this subclass? And so I will look, I will see what subclass they're looking at, or the feat or whatever, and I'll make a determination as to whether it's okay for that person to have it. And 9 times out of 10, I usually say yes. The only time I'll say no is if it somehow is going to break what I'm trying to do in the game. Only time I'll say no. So, and again, communication between players and dungeon masters is key here, folks. I can't say it enough. Right? And so here, like all of that stuff there that we just kind of skimmed through real quickly, That's really for players, like subclasses, things like that. And then there is a section, Dungeon Master's Tools. This expands on some of the things in the Dungeon Master's Guide. So a DM might actually use this book just for this section. Won't allow any of the subclasses or anything, but use this to expand on the things that are going on in the Dungeon Master's Guide. To make the play either a little smoother, a little better, a little more fun. There's a couple, there may be a number of reasons. God, I love this. Look at it. Like, look at this picture. That's that's amazing. That is amazing. That is classic dwarf, right? Am I right? Am I right? Yeah. So just so you're aware, it is above brewer supplies. So they are implying that he is probably a brewmaster and also drunk. Right. So, but again, these are things to expand on the Dungeon Master's Guide. And again, have that communication with your Dungeon Master if you are a player. If you are a Dungeon Master, this is a good book to get. Helps you. Look at this, desert encounters, right? Helps you build new encounters depending on where you're, what is the environment you're running your game? What are your players going to do? You can either, and again, it gives you the option. These are roll tables. You can roll to randomly see if these things happen, or you can just read the table and say, "Ooh, I like that one," and then pick it. There's no hard set rules here. And again, that's one of the things I really love about 5th edition. No hard rules. Right? The only hard rules that exist in a game are the rules that the Dungeon Master says. That's it. Not in these books. It's how the Dungeon Master is running the game. Those are the hard rules that exist in a game. And again, Dungeon Master can be completely flexible on those rules. But you're not going to get that out of the books. Which is great. I mean, again, just the artwork alone. I mean, the cost of these books, just the artwork alone, is well worth it. And look, I mean, more magic items. Right? Talking doll. That one's really creepy. Well, you can make it creepy. That's a look at that. That's a beautiful picture right there. Beautiful. And that's for the spell Finding Greater Steed. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't care how much prep work this guy did. He screwed. He did. Some good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, sweetie. Good to see you. Good to see you. But yeah, so Xanathar's Guide to Everything. Obviously not everything, because there are more books. But, Xanathar thinks it's his guide to everything. So you gotta, don't argue with the beholder. Just let him believe he's the guide is to everything. All right, good book tab. Good book tab. All right, so what next, right? Let's see. I'm gonna go into. I like this one because this one not only gives you extra monsters, right? This one also gives you extra races that you didn't have before. This one is Volo's Guide to Monsters. Now again, expanding on that theme of these, Volo is actually someone in D&D lore, in the Forgotten Realms, who basically just, he's collecting all this information, and he's putting together this book. And he is the guy that you want to have on your side because he can tell you all about these monsters, right? Let's see here. Yeah. So, right? And it even look, I gotta show you this. I gotta show you this, right? So I get excited. I get excited over these things. All right. So there's Volo, right? Um, actually, no, I don't think that's Volo. Yeah. So this the preface, right? As if it's actually written by Volo. His whole name is Volothamp Gedarm, right? You kind of see why he goes by Volo, right? Uh, but it's like prefaced by him and what's why he did all of this. And it just like this whole thing is just hilarious. Uh, it's really good. I mean, notes from Elminster Elmar, Archmage of Shadowdale, Senior Advisor to the Open Lord of Waterdeep. Lay it on thick, will ye? If this is modest, I dare not think what preening be. Coherence indeed, Volo, thy clarity is as the churning surface of a large city cesspit, when tentacles are about to erupt from beneath. The modesty is blinding, such a paragon of elucidation, selflessly serving all, often on a platter with an apple in every mouth. These are like medieval insults, by the way, if you haven't figured that out. Like, it's just like, it is very tongue-in-cheek, pretty funny, if that's your thing. But yeah, look, I mean, we're getting into monster lore. Where you have new monsters, right? You know, because everybody needs more different types of beholders. What beholder layers look like or could look like in your campaign. Fire giants. It goes into more depth about fire giants and different monsters and their motivations and why they are the way they are and do the things that they do. This is the Knoll stuff that we're passing through right here. Hags, where the hag pick? Yeah, this is, if hags are a part of your, look at this. I mean, if hags are a part of your story, yeah, Volos is a good thing. Hag names, right? I mean, just good stuff. These are vehicles, by the way, folks. This is what when hags want to ride in style. A hag needs themselves a big ass dragon skull, right? Or a nest, or even possibly a cauldron, with it looks like chain or barbed wire chain legs. I mean, look, if you're a hag, you're gonna ride out in style. That's how you do it. That's how it's got to get done, right? Oh yeah, the Baldur's Gate, yeah, Descent into Avernus is they've got motorcycles, they've got like death machines. I mean, they're freaking amazing, like the vehicles in that campaign. Yeah, but they run on souls, so you get something cool looking. You gotta power it with somebody's soul. There's a trade-off, I think. But yeah, so like, look, kobolds. A little more history on kobolds, which are great. Mind flayers. Who doesn't want mind flayers in your campaign? I mean, come on, like they're awesome. Orcs, Yuan-ti, snake people, right? Like so much stuff here. Like boggles. Like again, new creatures. And again, with specific challenge ratings. Look at this guy's challenge rating is 1/8, right? Like, by himself, probably not too hard to defeat. Hate to run into a bunch of them though. Cranium rats, pretty damn disgusting. I don't know if you can see that clearly, but yeah, their brains are showing. You can take some mind flayers for that. Right? Again, like lots of really, really cool monsters that you can add. Oh, we had that guy. We had this guy in our last campaign. Fire Giant Dreadnought. Yeah, this guy was awesome. Suck to the players. I love them. Uh, right? Just so many things. Grungs. Anybody who's been watching our campaign, this is where the grungs came from. Volo's Guide. Right? So really, really cool stuff in here. Right? Really amazing new things. Quicklings, right? Just new stuff. Yeah, those guys are cute. Those guys are cute. But here's the thing. I actually skipped over this. These are additional races, right? And again, your DM is going to tell you whether you can do this. So Aasimar, right? Like half angel people. Well, half celestial people. Furbogs. Furbogs. Kind of awesome. I really love that they made themselves into a race. Goliath. Kenku. Right? Here's why this became one of my favorite books. You can actually start playing monstrous races. Lizard folk. Right? Tabaxi. Triton. Sea people. You want to make a mermaid character or merman character. This is the race right here, folks. Right here. You want to walk into your campaign and you tell your DM, I want to be a mermaid. Tritons, folks. You heard it here. But yeah, Volo's Guide. Again, look at that artwork. Just amazing. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Always beautiful. So it looks like Volo is actually let's find out. All right, I'm gonna make a guess. Volo is talking to a storm giant, right? He's trying to get some information. Is that what it is? Tyler Jacobson illustrates a fateful meeting between a suspicious frost giant. All right, that was close. All right. Okay. So actually, making everybody seasick there. Motion sickness. So yeah, Volo's Guide to Monsters, another good one to get, whether you're a player or a dungeon master. But I will say again, before using any of any of the extra things in these books, always talk with your dungeon master to see if they're going to be using this, and if they're not going to use it in a campaign, then get permission if there's something you really, really, really want. Like I said, you want to play a merman or a mermaid character, and you want to play a Triton as your race, just run it through your DM. If it's me, like I said, I usually only say no if it's going to break something specifically in the game. I'm good like that. So, all right, next book. And again, like I said, I don't have all the books. But next one I picked up was Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. All right. Now, really good one here in the sense that this one really, really goes into depth about the races. Like the specific races out of the player's handbook mostly. And then it goes into like where they came from and what gods they worship, and again more in depth. Really good information if you're a detail person and you really, really want those details. And additionally, there are more monsters in here. I mean, it's a Tome of Foes, by the way. Again, in the tradition, Mordenkainen, very, very powerful wizard in the world of the Forgotten Realms, writing his book about all the shit that he's into, that he's seen, and all the creatures that people don't know about, and trying to share his knowledge with folks. But yeah, it's one of the really good things in here. It has a lot of information. If you're running a campaign that has a lot of demons and fiends from either the Abyss or the Hells, this is the book that you want to get. It goes into so much more detail. It also has like the Dukes of Hell. It has the leaders of these various races. Really, really good book to pick up if that's what you're looking to do. And additionally, it does have monsters, more monsters in them. Like again, all of these books tend to expand on existing things that you're finding in either the monster manual or the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Player's Handbook. So again, you have your core books. It's important to have those core books, because if you pick up you pick up these books, again, you can buy these books anytime you want, but you can be a little confused if you pick this book up first and if you never looked at the Player's Handbook or the Dungeon Master's Guide or the Monster Manual, and you're going to be like, oh, this is really cool. What are you talking about? So just for frame of reference, at the very least, you want to pick up those other books, because this, especially Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, this expands on a lot of what already exists, right? And again, for a Dungeon Master, obviously the monsters are going to be a very good thing to pick through, to use for your game. For players, expanding on your knowledge of where your character came from, or maybe where your enemies came from, and now that you're maybe leveled up to a certain level, you should know more information, and your DM says, oh, well, roll this, and you roll history, and you rolled very high, you would probably know some of this information. Once again, make sure your DM is telling you that we are using this book. If you're looking for that information, sometimes the DM will not tell you if they're using this book or not, but still give you the information from it, which is what I do. But again, this one, I would say this book is mostly for Dungeon Masters, with a sprinkling of information for players. I personally would tell my players, don't buy the book. I'll give you the information out of the book that you need to know, or that you would like to know, so they can kind of look through it themselves, that kind of thing. Because of the monsters, it's very hard for people to not metagame when they run into a creature if they have these books. So if you have somebody who is in your game who is like me, who has all of these books, right? And they are all of a sudden, you run into, like, I'm just going to throw out the Beholder from the Monster Manual, right? Throw out a Beholder, and they have the book, and they know, like, they just happen to know the stats for a Beholder. It's really hard to not metagame when certain things happen in the game, which is, again, why I tell folks, you only want to look at the pertinent parts. I know it's kind of hard. It's like, oh, the Beholder's got a really nice, pretty picture. I want to read all about the Beholder. Yeah, go ahead. But try your best not to metagame. It's so difficult when you have the book and you do that. A good tactic that some DMs use, especially if they know that their players are D&D fanatics and own all the books or know a lot about the monsters, is they will slightly change the monster, right? So Beholder might be a Beholder, but some of its eye rays will do certain different things than are in the list that are in the actual monster manual. Or, the monster will do something different that a player is not expecting. It's a good way to stop that metagaming from happening. I've seen players go from, like, you can see the light go on, like, oh, I know what this monster is. I know what we're going to have to do to defeat it. And then all of a sudden it does something completely different that they were not expecting. And then they go, oh, shit. Oh, I was not expecting that. What do we do now? Perfect. Now you got them. Now you got them right where you want them. Not metagaming. That's what it is. That's where you want them. So yeah. So Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, good book to have. Again, I think I would say, and again, my opinion, this is a good one for Dungeon Masters. But again, if you're looking for inspiration, if you are starting or trying to start your own game, and you're looking for inspiration, this is a good game, a good book to get. As well as for if you're a player, I mean, again, look at this beautiful artwork. I mean, it's just, again, amazing, amazing. So now we are going to get into two of the books that the last two books that I own, as far as core books are concerned, as far as additions to the core books are concerned. There are more books. There are campaign books, campaigns. I'm not going into the campaign books today, but the campaign books have, they can have more magic items. They can have certain new rules for certain types of monsters or classes in those books that can be pulled from and can be used. But we're not actually going to talk about the campaign books. These are just the additions. Now, this one that I'm going to go into is very, very quickly becoming one of my favorites. Doesn't help that I'm already a big fan of Critical Role, but I will get into my specific reasons that, other than being a fan of Critical Role, why I enjoy this book. But it's an add-on / campaign book. I mean, kind of. And it's the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. Right? Yeah, Southern, absolutely. Yeah, you steal stat box from campaigns and you plug it into you get. Yeah, again, every book that you can get, you can just pick and choose. It's like a buffet, right? You just like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna pull it. I like this, I'm gonna get that, and you just pick and choose. You just pull these books, right? So absolutely. It's great. It's a great habit to get into, especially if you're a dungeon master. But the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount, besides being a critter and loving the hell out of Critical Role, one of the reasons I love this book so much is because this is one of the first official 5th edition D&D books where the races are not inherently anything, right? So one of the big issues that came out of that has come out of just Dungeons and Dragons in general is that, oh, this race is inherently evil. This race is, inherently bad or neutral or good or whatever. But it mostly has to revolve around like the monstrous races and them being evil, bad. Now, granted, people for years have been homebrewing their own rules to make it so drow are not inherently evil, orcs are not inherently evil. All of these races, you don't have to be what the books say. Right? People have been doing that for years. This is the first official book outside of, I think it was, I think it was Eberron. I believe it might have been Eberron that also did something similar. So it was Eberron, and then Explorers Guide to Wildemount. So I might actually be mistaken. So this is not the first official one. Eberron did it, but it was a different setting, just like this one was. But it was the first one I was introduced to. That's a better way of putting it. The first one I was introduced to that was the case, like officially. I heard about Eberron afterwards. So that is why that, and that I love Critical Role, is why this is. Now, this is in a different setting than all of the other books. Okay? All of the other books are in the Forgotten Realms Faerun setting. Alright? This one is in a completely different world, completely different continent. outside. Doesn't mean you can't use those books. You can absolutely, just like Southern was saying, you can actually pull stat blocks. You can pull anything you want out of those books and plug it into this book. Now, it is not specifically a campaign book. This is a setting book. There is no campaign in here. There are little modules that you can pull and use, but this is more of a setting. Yep, yeah, absolutely. Only the 5th setting to be canon since 1978. Yep, yeah. They don't do that lightly. They don't. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that there's only 5 settings since 1978. I mean, that tells you something. So, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But this is one of my favorite books. It is the setting that our current campaign, the one that we're doing on Thursdays, is in. And it is, like I said, Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. Now, there's so much in here that I love. A lot of what's in the other books, you can see the inspiration, but you can also see inspiration from the earlier editions as well, especially in the gods and things like that. But this is, I can't tell you how much I love this book, because it just has so much, I mean, so much detail about all of these new settings. Now, if you don't watch Critical Role, that's fine, but I will say you don't need to have ever seen Critical Role to still enjoy the content of this book and the wonderful things that are in it. So I'm not even going to go into the whole all of the locations and the settings. They do have the races in it. This is the thing I actually want to I want to touch on, and let's bring this up. Is the Heroic Chronicle, right? It is one of the things I love the hell out of this book for. So when I was talking about inspiration and trying to figure out things about your character and your backstory and all of this is for someone who maybe feels like, I'm not a writer. I don't have a lot of ideas. I'm not sure what I want my character to be or to do. I just want to play the game. Now, believe me when I say, any amount of backstory you give your dungeon master, they will, 1, love you for, and 2, will create great stories using the information you give them. And so even if you're one of those people who don't have a lot of confidence in coming up with a backstory, this right here is going to help you. And again, pull this out to use in another setting. Absolutely. You can absolutely do this. So, for example, social status relationships, right? What does that mean? You roll a d20, you figure out that it'll tell you what background, and up here now it's very specific to this campaign, but you can change these, right, to your campaign setting. Right? These could be the names of rival, these can be different locations in your setting, right? And you'll find out if that person is an ally. Do they have a rival? All of these things. It's really good information. And you get to figure out, is the person a folk hero, a noble, a sage? Lots of different information, right? And then now you get to the backstory. What homeland did this person come from? Again, you can adjust it to whatever campaign you're in. Okay? What background do you want to pick for your character? Right? And it even tells you here where you can find that background. right? If you roll a 1, you pick the Acolyte. It says right there, Player's Handbook, PH, right? Charlatan, if you roll a 3, that's also in the Player's Handbook. So there's so much here. What is your social status, right? What settlement did you come from, right? Depending on the previous table. Family, like number of parents, number of siblings, depending on whether you grew up in a village or a city. I mean, look at this. Family relationships, right? You could have enemies in your family, right? Allies. What does that mean? Rivals, your enemies, basically. Their identities, who they are. You can actually roll that. Like, there's so much information here. And you can use this for every single thing. Whether, again, you're using it for your own campaign, if you're using it for Forgotten Realms, absolutely pull this all out. What are your favorite foods? Right? Depending on the region, right? Favorite foods. Mysterious secrets. Ooh, secrets. Right? And this one right here, Prophecy, is actually pretty cool. Again, all of this is optional, but the Prophecy here helps you come up with some backgrounds. Some more like in-depth background information. Like, I will defeat the creature that killed my parents. Its defeat might make me question my purpose in life, right? Just things that kind of give your character depth, a little bit more depth, right? And now these are like backgrounds, and these backgrounds are specific to the actual setting here of Wildemount. And again, look at this artwork. I mean, it's just beautiful. Look at this artwork. Yeah. So always gonna love that artwork. Always gonna love that artwork. Yeah, that would make me not want to go back to the beach. I don't know about you guys. This shit's happening. I'm not going to the beach again. Like, seriously. Like, they didn't know that this might happen? Where are the guards? Where are the fucking guards? The guards are never there when you need them. That's why there's so many adventurers, right? But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different mods that you can run out of the game, but this is not a campaign book at all. This is absolutely a setting book, and this artwork. I don't know about you. Like, so I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Lord of the Rings cartoon movies. There were a couple of different ones that came out, but the Rankin and Bass that came out in the late 70s, early 80s, that didn't look like it was capture motion. This artwork actually kind of reminds me of that. And when I was a kid, I loved that cartoon movie. Like, I thought it was great. Especially, this is King Dwendal right here. He kind of evokes that kind of feeling of that cartoon movie that I saw. But yeah, that's the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. Sorry about that. That was the Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. And again, pretty much very quickly becoming my favorite book. Just so many amazing things in the book. And again, I love, like, the setting itself. I love the fact that, drow are evil, goblins can be good. I mean, there's so many. It's about, for me, I'm going to be very honest. I understand the whole game mechanics of alignment, and I understand that you need a protagonist in your campaigns. But it's kind of lazy story writing to say that everybody in a race is evil, or everyone in a race is this or that. Like, I I want to say, like, initially I get it, but over time, to consistently keep that as the narrative seems very lazy to me. So I'm really when I see something like this, I'm very happy that somebody decided, oh yeah, we're gonna update it. You know, they're not gonna. You know, this race isn't evil, and these people can be good. It's about the individual uh, characters, whether it's a player character or a non-player character, an NPC. Like, what is their story? What is their life? What brought them to the decisions that made them the individual that they are now? Right? That's good story. That's good story writing. Um, and that's how I try to create my NPCs. Is they all have some kind of story behind them. They're not just very two dimensional. They're not there to just give the players a quest or just be an antagonist or anything. Uh, they are there, and they have lives, and something, the decisions in their lives brought them to the players at that particular moment in a certain way. Right? So like that's how I write all my characters. So that's going on, and that's very much due to that book. Right? See, Southern. I never looked at it as a requirement. Just that most of them were that way, but there are exceptions to every rule. Yeah, yeah. And again, many people have done that. Like, many people have decided, I don't like that rule. I'm not going to play with it. I'm just very happy that it's finally becoming more of the norm in the books, rather than, the, as you say, the exception to the rule. It should not be the exception to the rule anymore. It should be the rule. In my, again, that's just one DM's opinion. But yeah, people have been doing that for years because they've had those particular issues. And they wanted to change it. So, for example, again, if you're familiar with the Forgotten Realms world, but mostly like the books that are written by R.A. Salvatore, in those books, a lot of those books revolve around the one drow who was not as evil as the rest of his people. And eventually it kind of expanded to show that he wasn't the only drow that was not as evil as ever, but that was drow in that world. They were all evil, like that was their thing, and he was the exception to the rule. I really would like to see that change in the future, and I think this is a really nice beginning. Well, and again, I keep saying beginning, but Eberron was the beginning, but for these, because I see, like, for example, Wizards of the Coast, they have a responsibility, because so many people, especially now, are they are playing more D&D. Yeah, Drist, absolutely, Drist Do'Urden, Do'Urden, I can never say it right, but yeah, Wizards has a responsibility, because so many people are playing the game now, to be more mindful of the way they write these stories, or the way that these things are portrayed in the books. And you know, there's some people who believe that, oh, you know, I don't want social justice in my games, or I don't want, you know, this, you know, now you're taking it to another level and blah blah blah. You know what? Everything that we partake in life affects us on certain levels, even gaming. Okay, so you can't, you know, whether things in pop culture will consistently help us form opinions about things in life, and so it is actually irresponsible to say things like that, where you say, oh, I don't want, why are you trying to bring more realism into my fantasy, or why are you trying to bring social justice into my game? It's not that. It's that there's a responsibility there to not label people evil, or not to label people a certain way, because that shit already happens in real life. Why are we going to keep perpetuating that in the game? I've actually met people who have changed their opinion on certain things, and really like they've had bad opinions about people or situations or groups of individuals, and through gaming they've learned to be more accepting in their real life, and they've learned to become more accepting of things that they don't understand. And that happened through gaming, whether it was tabletop, through LARPing, live action role playing, situations that have happened to them where the emotions actually start to feel very real during the game, and it makes them examine themselves, like why they think that way, why they do. It's kind of like, and I hate to go off topic here, but this is kind of relevant. It's kind of like when someone who may not have a lot of real world experience suddenly starts traveling. And absolutely, thank you. That is Southern. That is absolutely. Oh, that is the best thing I've seen someone say. Big lesson of D&D is empathy. Absolutely, absolutely. Because to go back to what I was saying about traveling, if somebody's not had a lot of world experience and they've stayed in one place, they're forming opinions just based on their environment around them. And then all of a sudden they start traveling and they start to see that people live differently, in the different environments other than their own. Whether it's going, here in the States, if it's going from state to state, or just leaving the country and going to another country. And then they start learning that, one, it's not all about them, right? And two, they start to realize people can be good, but their experiences may help them form different opinions. So they might not, agree on certain things, but it's because of the way they grew up or the environment they were in. And all of a sudden, their eyes open, right? D&D can absolutely do that. Tabletop gaming can do that. Live action role playing can do that. Those are the kind of things. I mean, damn Southern, you kind of hit that on the head. Empathy is a huge thing for really good games, but for life. Okay, empathy is something that you really want to bring forth in everything you do, because you don't know what the person next to you is going through. Granted, at D&D, if you don't like something that's going on, your reaction can be, let's just murder hobo it and kill it, to death. Let's murder hobo it to death. But I, as a DM, make sure that there are consequences to that, just the way there would be consequences in real life. You can't just go around, murder hoboing people and expecting that nothing will happen. I think actually your groups are watching my groups. But yeah, okay. So while it is a game, and absolutely there is some fun in that. I am a DM that absolutely tries to bring a certain sense of reality to the fantasy, right? Because again, critical thinking is important in life, but it is also important in D&D. All right. Oh, thank you for the follow. All right, I hope I don't screw this up. V Uzuku, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. But yeah, so really, it really is going to be critical thinking is important in all aspects of life, especially gaming. But with again with D&D, if you're playing with a group, critical thinking is going to help you out of the situations that your DM is going to try and put you in, but also help your fellow players as well. Right? Yeah. So all right. So now we're gonna get to the most current book that I just picked up, that just recently came out. We're gonna go into this one, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Now, again, like Xanathar's Guide to Everything, and then Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. As you probably expect, the folks, the fantasy folks who are writing these books think they know everything, right? And they're putting it all in a book and saying, see how smart I am? I know all this stuff. So you have Xanathar, who is basically an insane beholder. Beholder. And then you have Tasha, who is... There is a lot of history with Tasha. I can never say the name right, but I mean, she was essentially a god in a different setting. Which I can't say the name correctly. I'll screw it up if I try. Iggy. I'm just gonna call her Iggy. Right. But there is a lot of good stuff in here. Everything okay?
Okay.
My personal mod's talking. Right. Okay, thank you. So yeah, she's still, yeah, absolutely. She's just as insane as Xanathar. Like Xanathar is batshit nuts. She was raised by Baba Yaga, so yeah, she's not playing with a full deck either. So yeah, there's a lot of history with this character, but some of the things in this book are amazing. So one of the things I love about Tasha's Cauldron, and we're going to go into all the things I love about it, is that you do not have to be pigeonholed into a background, right? Based on your race anymore. So what does that mean? Now, again, I'm going to caveat this with saying many people have been changing this in their own games, homebrewed for years, right? People have done this already. I love that it is now becoming, as we were saying before, it is no longer becoming the exception to the rule. It is becoming the rule, which is great. But again, a rule that you can follow or not, because that is one of the benefits of the 5th edition of D&D. So, for example, if you are... Now we're going to... See, this is the fun part where we actually go from book to book. So, let's open up the player's handbook, right? Very quickly, and we're going to go into a class. Actually, we're going to go into a race. Now, specifically, for example, and I actually touched on this a little bit on the last time with talking with the DM, was, for example, if you decide that you're going to be a dwarf, right? And when you start... For example, your ability score increases, your constitution score increases by 2. Why does that happen? So as a dwarf, you're considered a hardier race, right? You're very stout. You drink all the time, which probably makes you immune or at least resistant to some poisons. And so you're hardier. You're a hardier race, right? But what if you decide that you want to play a dwarf that's sickly for some reason, right? Say, for some reason you're just kind of a sicklier character, we could say based on environment, right? Where you grew up, it was a very harsh environment, but let's say the air was poisonous. Like fumes. Maybe you grew up in the shadow of a volcano and all those fumes made you sickly. With Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, You actually, yeah, that's a good. That is actually a good example. Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon, right? Um, Say you grew up in the shadow of a volcano, and all the fumes growing up made you sickly. With Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, you can actually now change. You don't have to stick to that Constitution increase of 2, right? You can decide based on your background to freaking change that, and that's great. Now again, this is now one of the official books, which is why I'm excited about it. Not that I couldn't do this if I didn't want to, right? I could have always done this if I wanted to, but again, it makes me happy to see a company like Wizards, who is beginning, better late than never, to take responsibility for, and basically say, hey, look, we know people have been doing this for years. We're going to make it official. That kind of thing, right? So, and again, there's like annotations from Tasha's in here. But yeah, like the first chapter is customizing your origin, specifically like that, right? So you can swap out your proficiencies based on your background. Skills, armor, weapons. I mean, that's really, really great. And again, it goes into some of the newer classes, right? Like Artificer, right? But I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Yeah, her commentary is great. It's awesome. It's so funny. Artificers invent cutting-edge problems, then try to solve them loudly and often with collateral damage. Right, that's one of them. Let's see. So yeah, there's new spells. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I want to start out with the things that I am most excited about, and one of them is actually brought up earlier. One of them happens to be the sidekicks. So let's jump to that real quick. So yeah, sidekicks. Now sidekicks, they did a limited, like almost like a limited type of sidekick in the Essentials kit that came out last year. It wasn't as expanded as what is now in Tasha's, but the great thing about the sidekicks is that now, if your player has a pet, or your players meet that interesting character that they adopt into the group, right? If you've run a game or you've been part of a number of games, that eventually someone will adopt something and bring it into the group. And in the past, what DMs have tried to bring those kind of side characters into games. They tried to bring them into games using different rules, right? Like a DM will actually either homebrew a rule, or they'll actually adjust the stat block for whatever it is that your PCs have adopted, and use those accordingly. And sometimes the DM will play the character, or they'll they'll give it to the actual one of the players to run the character, especially during a fight or something like that. But it's always been different, right? There hasn't been like a set guideline as to, well, what do we do in this situation? And sidekicks kind of brings it all to the table, which is again what I love. So yeah, so let's all take a look at this together, shall we? All right, set this up. All right, and again, apologies. This is my first time trying this whole thing where I can have everybody see this at the same time. apologize for my fat fingers. I am trying to actually adjust. There we go. All right. So here we go. Sidekicks, right? Creating a sidekick. You can only, 1 second. With your sidekicks, you can only up to talking about the challenge ratings. Remember I was talking about challenge ratings. Stat block has to be 1/2 or lower starting off, right? So yes, I know, I'm sorry, I'm doing my best to not make you dizzy. Yeah, okay, you're a little biased, but thank you, honey. I appreciate you, honey. Thank you for loving my fat fingers, my fat perfect fingers. So, all right. So getting back to sidekicks. Yeah, stat block, they can only be 1/2 or lower, right? Once you do that, you can now start creating the sidekick, right? And they gain in level with your players. Well, you gotta talk about my hinky finger. I didn't say nothing about my hinky finger. Now everybody knows I got a hinky finger. I'm not, like, it doesn't bother me that everybody knows I got a hinky finger, but, like, I didn't bring it up. So, alright. Back to the sidekicks. Alright. So, starting level, they level up with the characters. They do get hit points. I mean, it's essentially what I would say is character, like PC light, right? Player character light. They level up, they gain hit points, they get some skills, but they don't really have a specific class like fighter or wizard. They can do certain things like those classes, but not to the extent that they can do. Because you don't want like a full, you don't want a full on another character that is just like as powerful as you, because that could break the game. This is a nice balance between pulling together someone or something that your players have brought into the group, and allowing them to be part of the story as well, right? That's what I really enjoy about this. So, the three, I think it was 3 or 4. Let's see. All right, we'll start with the expert, right? That's the first thing. So the expert is kind of like the rogue. It has a lot of rogue-like abilities, but can't do everything the rogue does, right? You can see here, right? Cunning action, expertise. These are all things that the rogues can do. Evasion, reliable talent, like, again, all things that rogues can do. Not exactly rogues, kind of like rogue light, right? And then you have the spellcaster, right? Interesting side note. Kind of looking through the sidekicks, I actually found that with the sidekicks, it's probably like a really good possibility that if you have someone who is maybe interested in playing D&D, but they're really not sure what kind of character they want to play, maybe give them a session 0 as a sidekick and let them cycle through some of these to see which one they enjoy, and that might actually help them build a new character, right? That could be a really good possibility, especially if you have somebody who's very unsure about what they want to do, especially if they're fairly new to D&D. This might be a good way to kind of introduce them. Maybe, how about this? How about running like a small one-shot game where everybody is a sidekick, right? And it kind of gives them an idea of what they might want to be when you actually run a full campaign. V, I'm just gonna call you V if that's okay. V, you just got into D&D and immediately made a bard. There's nothing wrong with that. Bards are cool. I mean, granted, look, there's like a million memes about bards. and all about the sexy times that bards bring to the table. Bards don't need to be all about sexy times. They can if you want them to. But, there's nothing wrong with bards. Bards can be great. Bards can be amazing. Um, but, it's completely on how you play, how you want to play the character. It really is. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, see? Awesome. That's great. That's great. I love it. I love it when folks actually take their characters, take characters, and they just don't play them to the expectation. I love that. That's awesome. That's super awesome. All right, so let's get back to, so we got the spellcaster again. It's kind of like wizard or sorcerer light, right? Also, it kind of introduces some druid stuff and warlock stuff, some bards, right? So that would be probably a good thing to start someone off on if they're unsure, but they want to cast spells, want to see if they like it or not. And then you have the warrior, again, kind of fighter light, if you will. Again, I loved it. Look at this artwork. I mean, this artwork is awesome. Beautiful, beautiful artwork. Parlaying with monsters. Wow, that's something that most people don't do. At least my players don't. So this is actually really good. Some really good information. But yeah, with the sidekicks, it's just the three. You have the warrior, the spellcaster, and the expert, which is, again, rogue light, wizard light, fighter light. Sidekicks can be again, really, really cool. Lots of possibilities with sidekicks. Bringing that already into our campaign on Thursdays that we're currently playing. So lots of fun. I can kind of foresee this happening. But we'll see what happens. Like I said, I see a lot of possibilities in this. All right, so those were the sidekicks. There are so many. I've only gone through the book like twice. I'm constantly I have some vacation coming up for the holidays. I am going to be reading this again. But some of the classes, the new classes and subclasses, are amazing. I am going to go. I want to talk about the one that I really enjoy. And V, you're talking about that you just created a bard. I don't know. Maybe this might be something that you'd be interested in if your DM is using Tasha's. Is the additional bard spells and the bard colleges. The College of Creation is pretty cool. So I don't know. Like I said, it's really, really important to talk with your DM, see if they're using this information. But yeah, you can create dancing items. Oh, you don't have a group. Oh, but you just created I got it. I get you. So you just created the character. Nothing wrong with that. I got like a dozen characters I know I'll never play. I got you. But yeah, you know what? But yeah, if you get the chance, probably on Roll20, if you go to roll20.com or there's a couple. If you look for your local gaming stores, see if they're doing any online games. There are people out there who are looking for games, consistently, and there are DMs who are willing to do that. So my advice would be, if you're looking for a game, you want to play that bard, just see if you can find some groups, and see if you can jump into a campaign. You can make some really good friends that way. Granted, you might run into some not great groups, but that's one of the beauties of playing these games online now, is you can say, well, this group isn't for me. Thank you very much, and then you can go find another group.
I want to try Sensei Suplex.
Uh, I will say that that was my personal mod who actually gave me a great idea. If you're also if you're looking to play a game, and you can actually look up. He actually is a recent friend of the stream, Sensei Suplex. It was. I will actually. You know what? Let me put it in the chat, real quick. Okay, that's how what it looks like. If you look him up, there you go. You can actually he is doing something right now in his Discord where you can actually sign up, and he will be running games for new people as well. So if you're interested, that's also an additional person that you can actually try to play games with. Find a D&D game with. Okay. So yeah. So additionally, all right. So we were talking about some of the classes. So let's see, the Artificer. Yeah, the Artificer is fucking amazing. Now a lot of these groups. So I don't know if anybody. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Unearthed Arcana. So Unearthed Arcana is something that D&D puts out on occasion, where they are basically it's like beta testing new classes or beta testing new races and things like that. And you can use it in your games, but you might find out that occasionally, like, something is overpowered, or something is underpowered, or something's wrong with this rule. And that's exactly what D&D wants you to do. They want you to actually play the hell out of these things and find what's wrong with it. And most of the new classes here in Tasha's are, I want to say I think all of them are out of Unearthed Arcana. And there are some slight differences from when they actually put them out. But you can actually find them in Tasha's now, which is great. One of my players, I'm not going to say who, was using a class out of Unearthed Arcana, and we were freaking out a little bit because I got an email from D&D Beyond letting me know that they were actually removing it from play on D&D Beyond, and I was like, oh shit, she really wants to use that class. And then it turned out the class was in Tasha's, so we just kind of flipped it. So it was great, but we were freaking out a little bit because they were saying a bunch of the Unearthed Arcana was being removed. So but yeah, this is there's a lot of good stuff in here. So the Artificer, again, really great. Infusing items with magic, creating items. I mean, it's just you can be an armor artificer or alchemist. Really, really great stuff. Especially if you've always wanted to play that class that just, I want to create shit. I want to create things. And you could always like create magic items and create potions and stuff like that. But some of that was either downtime activities, or just kind of like, oh, you just add the money, you spend the money, you spend the materials, and this amount of time goes by, and now you have this item, right? But that was it, and items were usually just one shot. Now, granted, with some of the Artificer stuff, it is one shot, but it is in your skill set to do these things now. So that is what you do. You are constantly making stuff over and over and over again. It's great. It really is. Especially if you decide to be the alchemist. I mean, think about it. Parties need potions. Like, I don't care who you are, whether it's healing potions, specialty potions, whatever. And that shit could get expensive. You're an artificer in a group, man, they're gonna love you. It's good stuff. Lots of good stuff. Let's see. Or if, you You really want to take it next level, you become the armorer. Freaking make an or even better, the artillerist, where you are making a fucking cannon to carry around so you can just shoot people with cannons. Like if that was your goal at any point in playing D&D, is you want to be the heavy weapons guy, but this is D&D. What kind of heavy weapons do they have? Lo and behold, Tasha's Cauldron of everything, artificer, artillerist. Guess what? You are now the heavy weapons dude. Or dudette, or person, right? You are the heavy weapons person. So give that a shot if you're looking, if that was something you ever wanted to do. Honestly, like if I was to ever play an artificer, I would be like the tinkerer dude. Like I would be the guy making all of the little like animals and the little doodads. Yeah, absolutely, V. Heavy weapons humanoid. Heck yeah. Yeah, that would be the thing that I would probably be if I was an artificer. Is the little doodad, you know, like, oh, I got a little thing for every occasion, right? You know, whatever it is, like that would be me. But yeah, so then the barbarians. Man, barbarians got some great shit. The wild magic stuff for the barbarians is kind of cool. Not gonna lie. Imagine a barbarian, a wild magic barbarian, just running into battle and random magic shit is happening. That is. I couldn't make a more D&D relevant statement than barbarian with wild magic running into the battle. Like that is like that is really like the epitome of Dungeons and Dragons, is having something crazy like that happen. Man, a party of wild magic barbarians, that would be something. That would be a fun game. I don't think the game would last long, but I think it would be fun while it lasted. I'm not gonna go into every single one. I just want to go into some of my favorites. The Rune Knight. The Rune Knight is a fighter, a new fighter class, but you are, I guess like you could say, artificer light, kind of, but you're just drawing on everything. You're inscribing these runes, and all of the runes are essentially they're pulled from giant magic, right? So you'll have frost runes that came from frost giants. You'll have hill runes that came from the hill giants. You have the fire runes, which get, yeah, and so on and so forth, right? But the thing is, some of these runes alter your character permanently the higher level you get, right? So when I was reading this over, I got super excited because like when I was looking at it. So for example, say you decide to play a halfling rune knight, right? Just for shits and giggles, I'm a halfling rune knight, right? Running around, da da da. When you get to 10th level, right? The magic, you get something called Great Stature, all right? Your magic of your runes permanently alters you. When you gain this feature, roll 3d4. You grow a number of inches in height equal to the roll. Moreover, the extra damage you deal with your Giant's Might feature increases to 1d8. Now, Giant's Might, where is that at? You get that at level 3. And so essentially, Giant's Might, that's the beginning of your I'm going to get bigger, right? As a bonus action, you magically gain the following benefits, which last for 1 minute. If you are smaller than large, you become large. along with everything you're wearing. If you lack the room to become large, your size doesn't change. Okay, so point of order. Even if you are a human, like a human character or an elf, your size is medium. Most player characters come into the game medium size. You either start medium or small if you're like a halfling or a gnome, or a goblin if you decide to run a goblin. Now, level 3, as a bonus action, lasts for a minute. You now become large. You actually become larger than the biggest the biggest player in your group, right? Even if one of your players is a Goliath, right? Goliaths are like 7.5, sometimes 8 feet tall. You are now large, which means minimum you're like 12 feet tall, anywhere between 10 to 12 feet tall. Now go back. You're a halfling, Rune Knight. You're now a 10-foot tall halfling. You have advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and on each of your turns, one of your attacks with a weapon or an unarmed strike can deal an extra 1d6 damage on hit. Right? That's level 3. When you get to level 6, you gain a certain amount of inches, and you actually become taller. When you hit level 18, you get something called Runic Juggernaut. Reminder, halfling Rune Knight, right? Yes, reverse Frodo, absolutely, right? Runic Juggernaut. You learn how to amplify your rune power transformation. As a result, your extra damage, it actually goes up by 1d10. However, when you use that feature, your size increases to huge. And while you are that size, your reach increases by 5 feet. Okay? So huge is that's giant sized. You are now the size of a giant. And you are a halfling Rune Knight. Right? That is awesome. That is super, super awesome. I'm not gonna lie. If I was to ever get to play as a player again, the first thing I would probably do is make a halfling Rune Knight. I would absolutely do it. I think that would be so awesome. And because I do have a 3D printer, I would not do that to my DM. I would actually make sure that I had the larger mini printed up of my character every time he did his transformation stuff. Like I would that's what I would do. Right? But I think that is one of my favorite, the ones that I've read out of here. So far, that's the one that kind of sticks out to me a lot. I love it. I'm also a big fan of the monks. Like, I love the monk class. Hasn't been a lot of love for monks from a lot of people. But I think the monks in Natasha's class, I really like the way they look. Interesting too. And let me show you the picture real quick for those who have not seen it. So this new monk, this class is the Way of Mercy, and essentially it's essentially if your monk decided that they wanted to heal people with their hands rather than hurt them. You can still hurt people, but I find it pretty interesting. Like the picture that they went with was kind of plague doctor-ish, right? And even Tasha does say, plague doctor, some looks never go out of style, right? But I really like that one. If I think it would make a really good concept character for an NPC. I'd really like to see somebody play this. I'm not sure what it really looks like. I mean, they do have obviously hands of healing, as you would expect. They do some necrotic damage. if I remember correctly. Yeah, Hand of Harm, right? You can use your key to inflict wounds, and you deal necrotic damage. So that's, you would kind of expect that if you can heal people with your hands, you do have the knowledge to also hurt them as well. Um, but I'd be interested. That is definitely like, if I would say that's pretty good if your group is kind of hurting for a healer, like nobody came in as a healer. Um, yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah, heal and damage at the same time, which is pretty cool. Um, and this other one, the Way of the Astral Self, I like the story behind this new class, which is essentially that your key, the energy that you use to as a monk for all your skills, you kind of see that as your true self, and not the body. The body is just a shell containing that, and because of that, you gain extra your actual astral arms, right? Like your astral self. Like it's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of liking that. I'm digging that. Because you get extra attacks with them too, which is pretty cool. I'm digging that a lot. But then it does only those two, and then you get to Paladin. Um, but yeah, I really really enjoy. I really enjoy like the Rune Knight, the monks, the Artificer. Those are the three that really kind of stand out to me. Never really like Paladin classes. They're cool. Don't get me wrong, but they're just never like my cup of tea. Um, the Ranger stuff, I like the out of the Ranger stuff. I really like the Swarm Master, where you can actually control swarms of animals, which is kind of cool. Um, but yeah, it's out of that. Um, and the Rogue one, I really like the. All right, so I really liked the Phantom, which is kind of like kind of like the rogue-ish dead kind of like you deal with death and stuff like that. Um, the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer. Oh, that's cool, Southern. Yeah, I get like there's some classes that just never kind of like called out to me, that so I never really I know of them, but I never really delved too much into them because they really didn't speak to me. Um, but the Rogue Phantom is great. And then we get to Soul Knife. Now, which let's tape cards on the table. It's the Psylocke class of D&D now, right? Anybody familiar with X-Men comics, or the X-Men movies? X-Men movies, not so much. Psylocke was essentially this class. Was just she was able to create, with psychic power, knives, from her hands and her fists, and she could do all a bunch of psychic stuff, right? So that's what this is. Psionics were always problematic in D&D. I have a particular dislike for psionics, but I'm not. I'll be very honest. I'm very open-minded to the Soul Knife character class. If I see it played well, it might change my mind. But I'd really have to see it in action, and with somebody who understands the rules. Because there's extra dice to roll. It's a little, for someone who's not familiar with the D&D mechanics, and the rogue class, it might get a little cumbersome. But if it's somebody who has that experience, I would love to see a Soul Knife character played. I would like to have my mind changed by psionics. Like the concept itself about psychic energy and psychic powers, I've always loved that concept, but it's always not worked or been played well, at least a lot around me. Oh, excuse me. Um, yeah. That's my point, Red. That's my point. It's with the psionic dice. This is definitely a class that should be played by someone, again, who's familiar with D&D, who is very familiar with the rogue class, because now you have this extra dynamic of rolling psionic dice, that is new to the new part of the class, that could slow things down in a fight, or could do a couple of things. Your dice can grow and shrink depending on what you roll. Yeah. Yeah. But it's really, again, I think I would have, for me to change my mind about psionics in D&D, I'd have to see somebody play it well. Because for me, I would love for anybody who wants to play this character to play this character. But in my particular case, where I have, that was a unique thing for them. Now it is essentially, yeah, absolutely, Red. It's like it's essentially the superiority dice that a battlemaster fighter has. And again, if you're not familiar enough with the fighter class and that subclass of fighter, it could super slow things down. And I have a group of 7 players, right? So thankfully, none of them are playing a Soul Knife or a Battlemaster fighter. But in the future, if I had a player who wanted to play it, like if I was still playing and if I was still running a game for 7 people, I would be very reticent. They would have to show me that it's not going to slow the game down and they're not going to have issues with the rules before playing. It's one of those classes. And I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that DM. But it really, that's the way I kind of see it. They oversimplified from you. Simplifying is one thing. They did so. Yeah, Southern, absolutely. Like, again, it's my whole thing is when you add another dynamic to already, okay, I have to roll for initiative. Okay, I have to roll to hit. Okay, I have to roll to see what my damage is, right? That's a lot already. And as you start playing D&D, doing all of those rolls start to become second nature. For some people, there's a learning curve, and it takes longer for others, right? So if you now are adding another dynamic of more dice to the game, now again, it would have to be somebody who's super familiar with all of that stuff. Like that would be my only caveat with that. So yeah, I think that would probably be the way to go in that. I would love to have my mind changed on that, right? I'd love to see a Soul Knife or a psionic based character played well. So then I could help. I could see, my whole thing is if I see it played well, then it will help me to help other people who want to play that class, because I'm not playing that character, and I might want to actually play it as an NPC maybe, but I wouldn't be able to play that character kind of long term. So I would love to see somebody playing it long term, so I could help others figure out how to play the character if they really, really want to. So yeah, and then as I said, there's more sorcerer stuff. Warlocks, I've gotten more patrons. Wizards, I've gotten some new cantrips. One of the things that stuck out for me with Wizards is the blade singers, the blade singing. Those are kind of cool. I don't remember. I don't remember who wrote the book, but there was this series of books that I read. Both Mama and I have read that, and basically it was like essentially it was a little different than this, but they were called Blade Dancers in the book, and like that was what they did was there was this special group of them who their weapons were magical, and it was essentially something like this. And when I saw this, I got really excited because I thought it was something similar, and it is kind of like that. Um, I could see this being super awesome. Yeah, yeah, Red. The Blade Singer does look pretty good. I love
Swordborn.
Swordborn. Yeah, that's the name of the books. That's one of them, Swordborn. I love this picture. like, this was like I almost passed when I saw the wizard section. I was like, oh yeah, and then I saw this picture and it made me stop. Right? I mean, that's beautiful. Like that artwork is beautiful. Right? And a drow and high elf blade singer, right? Like beautiful. Just beautiful. That made me stop. And then I started realizing, ooh, I'm glad I stopped. But yeah, that's the other one that kind of got to me. Like I was like, ooh, that's good. That could be something good. That could be something good. Especially if you have someone who wants to play like a magic-y person, but also fight. Because let's face it, like up until this point, wizards are just glass cannons, right? They can be super powerful and just be killed like two-shotted, right? Sometimes in some cases one-shotted. But yeah, I could see that being kind of awesome, you know, especially for somebody who wants to play like a class like that. Because in the past you would have, I mean, honestly, you would have to multi-class, right? You would have to multi-class wizard, and then fighter, and then and nothing says that you get magic swords unless you started picking up like Mordenkainen's blade. I think it's Mordenkainen's blade or something like that. There are spells that allow you to kind of like conjure swords and things like that, but that's about the extent of it. Like you couldn't actually like run in and have a magic sword that that you're empowering to do certain things. Like that's pretty cool. And then there's like new backgrounds and stuff like that. But those, again, this is definitely of the newer books. This is absolutely one of the. I'm really enjoying it. Can't wait to see all the things I can do with this book as a dungeon master. And it is absolutely one of the better books, in my opinion, to get inspiration for new backgrounds and new types of characters for games. So if you're getting ready to join a game, or if you're kind of like V, where you're looking for a game and you don't have one yet, but you want to create some character concepts, get Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It'll absolutely help you out with that. Lots of good stuff, and I can't speak on the artwork enough. Like, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just the artwork is beautiful. Just, it's amazing. It really is. Again, it's one of the things that draws me to these books. I mean, is the artwork. It really is. So, but yeah, so that's that. I mean, again, there are so many more books. There's more campaign books. There's other books I'm not touching on. There are also resources. Yeah, I know. My buddy Brendan, my best friend, he hates shaky cam in movies. He would be freaking out with my holding of the camera with all this stuff. Yeah, so there's so many more books. There's so many more resources too. So these are just the official books, right? These are the official Wizards of the Coast, Dungeons and Dragons. But there are so many other resources for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. that you could actually, a quick Google search, and you will find so many different like rules on different classes that they are not part of the official D&D books, different campaigns, rules on items, and like there's I can't even begin to go into how many resources there are for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. All I did today was talk about the official books, but there are so many unofficial books as well, and rules and things like that, and people who are putting all of these things together to make the hobby more inclusive, to make the hobby more fun, to make sure that you have resources, whether you are a player or a dungeon master, to bring all of these wonderful things into your story, right? So I mean, yeah, I would encourage you again, if you're looking for a game. The person that we put in the chat, Sensei Suplex, great guy, runs a couple of D&D games a week as well, but also is highly encouraging of new folks, and he is also, as I said, he is also trying to create more games with new people to get them started so they can learn a little bit about D&D, and actually play a game. Then you have Roll20. That if you look that up, there are always groups on Roll20, people who are looking for games. That's another one to do. Local gaming stores. I know, at least here in the States, and at least in my area, that local gaming groups are starting to do their games online because quarantine and COVID and all that stuff. So try and reach out to them and see if they're doing any online games as well. People want to play, so there are absolutely games out there. You just have to try and find them. Let's see. So still gotta get with the concept. We are using on my Saturday campaign starting this coming weekend. Involves 2 different sorcerers. I think. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, drop me a line. Either message me on, whether it's on Discord, however you want to message me. Let's talk. I'd love to hear about it. I would love to figure out, see what's going on with your campaign. One of my best friends, Dave. It's funny, sometimes even during my D&D game, he will actually start messaging me and like, hey, I just came up with this great concept of this, or this is what's going on in my campaign right now. Like, get so excited. I love hearing about all this stuff. So yeah, Southern, drop me a line. I love to hear about this. I love hearing about other people's games. Some of them are super fun. And so I could keep talking for so long about how much I love D&D and how much I love the tabletop and everything, but it's just about time. The time is done. It's time. It's about time for us to kind of call the stream to an end. I really like to thank everybody who came. I hope you got something out of it. That's what I always try to do. With talking with the DM, I try to help educate, try to give you kind of like my opinions on things that I wish I knew as a player when I started playing, or things I wish I knew when I was a DM, when I started becoming a DM. Try to give you kind of my perspective on these things. So I hope you take something away from this, even if it's at the very least to be empathetic. Right? Like, that's a big one. If you walk away with that, that's amazing. But if you're already empathetic, yeah, like, the battle's done. Now you just gotta keep it up. But yeah, so thank you for coming on this strange journey. The D&D edition core books. If you are interested in seeing all of these things put together that I've talked about today, join us every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, where we actually stream our D&D game based on the Wildmount campaign. All right, so please join us for that. Make sure you follow so you get reminded. You can keep up with our schedule. There will be another Talking with the DM, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, which will be December 27th. And it'll be the same time, 6 o'clock. Not sure what the topic is going to be yet, but check the schedule, and when I will make sure to update the schedule and let you know what that is. For my birthday, which is going to be December 26th, we are doing a watch party of The Big Lebowski's, my favorite movie. So that's going to be in our Discord. So please join us in our Discord. You can go into the about section and just click on the Discord panel, and it'll send you into our Discord. So please join us there if you can. But as always, I want to actually very quickly. I want to do a few shout outs to folks. V Izuku, again, thank you for joining us today and for the follow. Really, really appreciate it. Dave Mo 64. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate it. And everybody who's watching, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate the support that you've been giving me, and all of us on our D&D stream. We really, I can't, words can't express how much I am super appreciative of everything that all of you do for us. And it just makes me want to do more and give you guys more content too, which is coming up in the new year. There'll be some stuff going on. Can't wait to share that stuff down the pike. But again, thank you for joining me today. Remember, be good to yourself, be good to other people, take care of other people. Most importantly, take care of yourself. And we'll see you next time. And as the stream ends, we are going to raid. We're going to raid a friend of the stream. So please stand by, and we will do that. So thank you again.